Welcome back to Testimony Mountain, and I'm very excited to share with you some cool stuff that may be new to you. And in my journey, when I first began, very traditional Christian church, you just pray to God, tell Him all your wants, desires, and needs, and you don't necessarily expect to hear back from Him. And God has taken me on a journey to understand that we can hear back from Him. It says, "My sheep hear my voice." And then even taking it a step further. Have you ever wondered about the verses that talk about coming boldly before the throne of grace? What does that mean? In verses like, "We are seated with Him in heavenly places." And in Hebrews 12, "We have come to Mount Zion, the city of God." Wait a minute. I thought that I had to wait until I die to encounter heaven. And yet there are a number of scriptures that clearly talk about us having access now. And I believe that Jesus made a way when He died on the cross for us, and that veil was torn. He made a way for us to enter into the heavenly courts in our spirits and to be able to encounter God face to face. And this has made such a huge difference in my life. If this is new to you, I encourage you. My husband and I have a course called The Ultimate Impact, and it can help give you understanding and insight about this. And I'll leave information about that in the notes below. And so for the last 5 years, we have been exploring God face to face in the heavenly realm. Before that, we had heard about prophets having incredible visions and thinking it was just for special people. But no, heaven is available now for all of us. We don't have to wait for death to enter in. And so the things that I want to share today are about an encounter with the Lord that He led me into, about a specific court in the heavenly realm and how it applies here on earth. And so I hope you'll enjoy this testimony. Maybe far out for you or not easily understood, and that's okay. You could just put it on the shelf, take it or leave it. So there was this time when I was pondering the verse in Joshua 1:3 about every place that your foot lands, or the soles of your feet, whatever version you're reading in, the Lord God has given you. And I know that that applied originally to the Israelites and what God was giving them authority over and giving them land. But I was kind of pondering that. It's like, I've been all over the place in the States and even different places in the world. And can I use this verse? Do I still have authority in those places where my feet have been? So one day in my conversation with God, I was just asking, does this verse apply to me today? And what does it mean for walking in power and authority here in the earth? And I felt like He said to me, "Come up to the land grant court." And I'm like, never heard of the land grant court, but okay, I'm game. And so I just presented myself to the land grant court. Jesus was with me, and we encourage you, if you're exploring the heavenly realms, to make sure Jesus is always there with you, because there are some other realms we don't want to engage with. But He is our safety. And so He was there with me, and I just presented my petition going, okay, I want to know if this verse applies to me today, and if it does, I'm petitioning this court that I would receive a land grant deed for every place that my feet have stepped on. And the court was like, yes, you can do that. And so they compiled some paperwork and gave me deeds to every place that my feet have been, and I believe continue to be in this process. And so just going, okay, well, Lord, I take that authority, and so on a daily basis would just release light, love, and glory into every place that my feet have been. And it was not too long after that where I was doing some traveling. My husband had been gone. We'd been separated for about a month because of travel. And he was home, and I was flying back from visiting my mother for her 80th birthday. And I was just so anxious to just be home, to be with my husband again. And we'd made plans to have dinner that night together and just really looking forward to reconnecting. And at that time, we were living in Colorado Springs. So as we were flying into Denver, and then I was going to take a little plane over to Colorado Springs, the announcer got on and said that Biden had been in the area, and so we were going to have to circle for a little bit to clear the landing space and all that. And so we circled Denver for a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I think I still have, time to get to my connecting flight. And I'd been getting notices on my phone saying, okay, if you've ever been to Denver Airport, it is huge. It's massive. It's the biggest airport in the United States, and I believe the third in the world. And if you know some of the history, it is understood that below it is all kinds of very dark things, deep tunnels where a lot of different things happen. And even on the outside of the airport, there is a statue. We call it the demon horse with red eyes. And inside, some very disturbing paintings of, coffins and different scenes that are just very yucky and gross. Not something encouraging and beautiful. And so there's a lot of stuff going on at the Denver airport, the tunnels below it and so on. And so anyway, we were finally cleared to land. We landed, and then we were taxiing for a little bit and getting close to our gate. And all of a sudden, we stopped, and the announcer got back on and said that the plane that had been in there before, as they were backing out, there was a part that broke on the connecting something, and that we would have to wait for this to be fixed because everything was backed up. There was no other gates that we could go to. And so we waited, and we waited, and we waited. And I have to say that I was not a happy waiter at that time. I was just like, I just want to get home. I'm so close. We're only an hour away. And so anyway, I was like, okay, it's getting really close. I don't know if I'm going to make this flight. And then finally, they allowed the plane to come up to the gate. Now, the gate we were coming into was the C gate. And I knew that my connecting flight was in the A gate and that it would take 20 minutes to get to my connecting flight. And as I was first walking off, I got a text that said, you're going to make it. It's all good. And I was running through that airport. I'm going I got to get there. I got to get there. And about halfway there, I get a notice, oh, you've been rescheduled to another gate. And I thought, I'm getting close to the A gate. I'm just going to keep going just to make sure. Maybe there was something that delayed them too, and maybe I can still get on that flight. And so I'm walking, running, and the connecting gate is all the way through the A gate, which is a terminal, which is huge. And I get there, and the doors are closed, and I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding. So then they rebooked me on another flight, and this time it was in the B terminal. And so now I've got to go all the way, back, get on the little tram and all of those kinds of things and get on the B terminal. And I'm like, I've been on A terminal, B terminal, and the C terminal. And, I was just not a happy camper at all. My flights were, with the connecting and all of that delayed so that we missed having dinner together. I finally got into Colorado Springs about 9 p.m. and very happy to see my husband, but, just not happy about all the process. So I was grumpy about it, and the next morning to the Lord, I was just kind of, presenting where I was at. God, I really, what was that all about? Why couldn't I have just gotten home, timely manner and all that kind of thing? And I felt like he said to me, don't you remember about the land grant deeds? And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. And he said, no, I want to give you authority over the stuff that's happening at Denver Airport. So I wanted you to be there in every one of the terminals. And I was like, oh, but I was so grouchy. I wasn't even in a good mood. I wasn't releasing love, light, restoration, or anything like that. How can you use that? And he was like, in him, there's time is irrelevant, and we can, not irrelevant, but it's different than it is here. And in him, in the heavenly realm, contains the past, present, and future. And with him, we can go back on our timeline. And so I felt like he said, you can go back on your timeline, and you can now go through terminals C, A, and B in the order that you did the day before. And now you can go back in the spirit, and you can release light, love, and joy, and my restoration power, and have the authority that I've granted you in these land grant deeds. And so just in the spirit, I retraced my steps with the Lord, just releasing joy and love and peace and light. And so I just want to encourage you that wherever your feet have been, you have authority. If you want to go to the land grant deed court, you're welcome to do that, or you can just step into that by faith. This is key because for us who are survivors, we have been in some pretty awful, ugly places. You may have been to some ritual sites and so on. And as more and more of us are willing to take the authority that God has given us in every place that our feet have been, that we have power and authority now to release forgiveness, to release light, to release love, to release even joy in those places. It's going to change the land. And I believe that it will make it very, very difficult for these occultists to continue rituals in those sites because of what we bring by the power of the Spirit. What I bring is just a little piece of the puzzle, but when you add your piece and your piece and your piece and your piece, together we can make a difference. And so I just want to encourage you, look back on your life, where you have been, and any place you can bring light, love, power, and joy. So I just encourage you, you have a testimony today. You can stand on Testimony Mountain and release whatever testimony it is. Today I'm sharing about land grant deeds and the authority that we have wherever our feet have trod. But you may have a different testimony, and I just encourage you, wherever you are, to release that frequency of the power of Jesus Christ that He has given you to release in your circumstances, in your life, on your timeline, on the land where you are standing. And so I just encourage you today to write your testimony in the comments below and share this. Subscribe, share wherever you can, because we want the word to get out there that all of us are taking that authority that we have been given in the land that we are to release restoration and glory and love and joy and delight. We can make a difference. Thank you and bless you.